I vow to taste the truth. All the way through. We had a wonderful sitting and Jukai ceremony on Sunday. Some shining new bodhisattvas. I mean, we're all bodhisattvas, but they looked pretty shining on Sunday. Don't look bad today either. So we are focusing on engaged Buddhism. We live in the time of George Floyd. We live in the time of Black Lives Matter. We live in the time of white supremacy. We live in the time of cancel culture. We live in the time of, there was another one I thought of, not that there's not a million, a cancel culture. Oh, and woke. Who's woke and who's not woke, which has become, seems to me, sort of a political, I watched the news last night and there's fighting on one side, we won't say who, of the political spectrum about who's the least woke. I'm sorry. I mean, we're just such fun. I mean, if it wasn't so awful, it would be really fun. I mean, it's not funny. It's really not funny. Dogen offers us the four embracing actions of a bodhisattva. Giving, generosity. Kind speech, loving speech. Beneficial action. Skillful means, what does the situation need? And identity action, which is most fundamentally is there's no difference. You are me and I am you. Identifying yourself with all beings. What a different world, huh? Moment after moment, if we just keep remembering and using. Now I'm afraid I'm going to hit the mic. Sorry. No, it's fine. I was just noticing, just body and mind. It's so fascinating. Because it's important to study body and mind. It's like you are me and I am you, and you are me and I am you. And boy, if you study your mind, it's so fast when you're out in the street or out in the world or wherever you were, how fast the othering happens. Not to mention in here. It's like, whoa, it's really, whew. And now so much of it's surfaced, it's out. And now what do we do? And I think there's, I think it's a really good thing that there was something, I mean, I don't know, but it does seem to me, it's not just my perspective, is there was something really strong and powerful that happened in the streets and as a social movement around George Floyd. And now we're sort of in a place of, so what do we do now? And what about passing legislation? And what about, white people aren't showing up for all these workshops in the same kind of way? And what's the follow through? And what are we going to do? And how are we going to live? Because it's not like racism hasn't been here forever and ever. We're so programmed. And there is a particular way that Americans are programmed because of our history around slavery. It was really, I didn't know I was going to do this. I'll just do it. It was really interesting for me to be in New Zealand. And of course there's I mean, Maori, indigenous peoples, and white, but there's a different, it's there, but there's something, colonialism really is, we need to study colonialism and the ripple effects of colonialism. But there is something particularly insidious about slavery and what we did and how we did it in this country. So waking up is hard to do. I want to say that Rhonda Magee, The Inner Work of Racial Justice is the book that she's written, but she's just out there doing work all over the place. I think Rhonda Magee is a rather amazing human being. She's African American, and she just, from the beginning, it just felt to me like her work was grounded in practice. She wasn't going to chop it up into this and that, and it's always been about love. And it's about how are we going to do this together. But she also really speaks hard truths. But she's not somehow threatening about it. So, somehow she doesn't make you scared or closed down. I admire her a lot. So I want to turn to her today to help us raise. I have so many. We're not going to do all this, but just little. But the introduction, when I opened this book, I had read it some years ago, The Inner Work of Racial Justice, Healing Ourselves and Transforming Our Communities Through Mindfulness. The foreword is by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So I want to read you some of his introduction, because he's also another kind of amazing, wise human being who started working in the hospital and with illness and has really used his Dharma seat, his teacher's seat, to just speak out about love in all forms and mindfulness in all forms. I'm going to start with, on the title page by Rhonda Magee, If the Path Could Speak. Beneath these words rests the awareness of generations, and of generations, and of generations that have come before. The awareness that each one of us is a vital part of the earth that we call home, is of the wind, the rain, the fire, and so inherently belongs. Each one of us inherently belongs. If the path could speak, it would say, we must assert that which exists deep within us, namely, a sense of kinship with all those with whom we share the earth. If the path could speak, it would say, we must assert that which exists deep within us, namely, a sense of kinship with all those with whom we share the earth. On repeat, in every language, unceasingly. Again, sounds right, sounds good, but it's uncomfortable meeting the places where we separate. And systemic separation is just uncomfortable. So how do we do it, and how do we help each other? So here comes Jon Kabat-Zinn. In terms of our DNA, we humans are 99.7% the same. 99.7% the same. This sameness doesn't negate or belie the reality and beauty of our differences. Yet we persist to a large degree in overt and unconscious disregard and othering, both of which make it extremely hard for us to see our own implicit biases and the toxic effects these can have on others, and ironically, on ourselves as well. Everybody suffers. It's called suffering. Often it is even harder for us to want to see and disentangle ourselves from such automatic and unexamined biases, especially since they are usually supported by laws and social customs favoring some at the expense of others. To disentangle this whole climate change and crisis and who's going to suffer the most? Of course it's the lower economic rung. And who's on the lowest economic rung? Is usually people of color. It's almost, all around the world. But you know what? We who live on the upper, Kriti Konko says pretty clearly that to really solve the climate crisis is we're all going to have to live the way people in India live. That doesn't sound like what most people are going to want to do, which is change our standard of living. You know, this is just, we just need to study this so deeply with compassion. Such asymmetries have wide-ranging consequences, especially for those individuals who are most at risk and vulnerable to endemic injustices. At the same time, they also erode the short and long-term health and well-being of all of us, our societies, and our entire species. So I care about you. I care about the earth. I care. I really do. It means looking and being willing to be a little uncomfortable, sometimes a lot uncomfortable. Rhonda Magee's so good at this, and she really does it with practice, with generosity and kindness and skillful means and a deep knowing that we're not different, and we are different. If we beings are going to make it on this planet sooner or later, and hopefully it will be sooner, this form of mindlessness has got to be met with an open-hearted clarity, wisdom, and selflessness of mindfulness, or heartfulness, as we might translate it. An awareness that calls into question, investigates, and ultimately reveals the limitations of narrow identification with any sense of self as a fixed and enduring entity. With 7 billion people on the planet, and counting, this was written a few years ago, and the extent of the violence we are capable of with our weapons and our intellects, our well-being as a species is unsustainable unless we wake up and learn to love our differences, celebrating rather than fearing them as we come to recognize our commonalities. Obviously, this is a work in progress in our country and around the world, and very much in the forefront of public conversations about what kind of society we want to be and what kind of world we want to inhabit. The beauty of mindfulness is that through its practice, no matter who we are, simply by being human, we learn to cultivate a gentle intimacy with awareness itself. Isn't that nice? That's what we're doing, is cultivating a gentle intimacy with awareness. Just waking up gently with and for all beings. From an evolutionary perspective, we might say that our innate capacity for awareness is the final common pathway of what makes us human. It's why Buddhism says the gift of a precious human life is that we human beings of all the species, well, who knows what we're finding out, but it does seem, is that we have the capacity to think and reflect and to wake up and to change. Indeed, such an intentional cultivation of intimacy with our own awareness and capacity for wakefulness is nothing less than a love affair with life itself. The more you wake up, the more you love life. And the more you love life, the more you want to care for it and protect it. Be careful. It's kind of safe and nice over here in our little boxes and opinions, and me too, you know? This is one of the fundamental challenges of being human, that we often have no inkling that we don't know what we don't know. We often have no inkling that we don't know what we don't know. We create stories in our minds that separate us from others and often separate us from our own wholeness as well. We easily assume that we know the other when we don't. I've been married for over 40 years and I'm amazed how much I know my partner and how much I have absolutely no idea, not to mention myself. This whole thing is real. Who are you? In actuality, and then he says, in actuality, we don't even know ourselves. This is where learning how to default and inhabit the domain of awareness comes in. An awareness that transcends and includes our highly conditioned patterns of unawareness and therefore our blindnesses. Knowing that we don't know is itself transformative. Knowing that we don't know is transformative. To know is arrogance, to not know is stupidity. To not know in a live, awake, curious place of love is wow. Like, who are you and what is this all about? We need to go beyond our attachments and the ways in which we might be benefiting from the status quo. The ultimate responsibility is ours. You can't rely on others to do we can't rely on others to do our own inner exploration for us, or even to repeatedly point out where we are blind. That said, once we start to inquire and investigate along these lines for ourselves, plenty of allies and opportunities are likely to appear, including one might call Sangha, or the Triple Treasures, and Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The more you ask, the more it is here and available. A little bit more. In the end, it is a radical act of love and sanity to cultivate mindfulness through regular embodied practice. A radical act of love and sanity. And it also can be a courageous political act in support of truly equal justice for all. So now just a little bit from Rhonda. Her definition of mindfulness, at its simplest, is paying attention to life as it unfolds, grounded in the body and breath, and allowing that awareness to settle the mind, increase presence and consciousness of interconnectedness with all beings. So really simply, mindfulness, heartfulness, is paying attention to life unfolding, not as fixed things, but a process and alive in motion, grounded in body and breath, which is Zazen, body and breath, and allowing that awareness to settle the mind. It gives the mind someplace to rest. These poor minds, good heavens, trying so hard to figure it all out. Make it safe, make it okay. And therefore there's an increased presence and consciousness of interconnectedness with everything. It's so simple. You just come back. Her definition of the word justice: love in action for the alleviation of suffering. Love in action for the alleviation of suffering. Justice begins with our awareness of the present moment, extends through caring for ourselves. This isn't about sacrificing the self. It's about waking up through the self, and shows up in the love we bring to our interactions with others and our responses to the social challenges of our time. Her hope is that her writings, her practice, her offerings are a support for living with your eyes wide open. I love that expression. Eyes wide open to the role of race in your life and in the lives of others. I hope that you will find guidance for working towards justice for all through grounded, public-facing, radical compassion, the kind that touches everyone and all things, leaving no one and nothing out. That's really important. Leaving no one and nothing out. Maybe we form a vast ocean of healing to meet the suffering, one that refuses no river and renews all. Be like the river that refuses no. Be like the ocean that refuses no river. Isn't that nice? Be like the ocean that refuses no river. Here's a quote from Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, another African-American teacher in our tradition. Biologically speaking, we are programmed towards being tribal as a means of survival. That's really important. We default to tribalism. It gets scary. It's so deep in us. We just go back to our own tribe, and they're over there and we're over here, and I'm going to take care of mine. And sorry, yours is, maybe we'll let you live, but probably not tribalism. We literally have to transcend an aspect of our own biology, which means sitting in the body, sitting with the heart, sitting where it's uncomfortable. Watch your own tribalism. And Sharon Salzberg, population geneticists agree that all of us are literally one human family. What would our world be like if everyone acted on this truth? Mm. Can watch it. Tribalism, all one. Tribalism, separation, love, compassion, curiosity. It's just you can watch it. It's like a swinging gate. It's like Suzuki Roshi, the in-breath and the out-breath. Just let it move. That's all. Aerate it. Let it move. So here's a little exercise from her. It's called a pause for human kindness. Let's just sit for a minute. And just let arise in your awareness. Doesn't have to be a big moment, maybe just a small moment, maybe you'll be surprised, but some moment of racial discomfort. Something from your own experience. Feel it in the body. And now pause and take a deep and grounding breath. What are the sensations in the body that make this discomfort known to you now? Where is it in the body, the discomfort? As you arise, allow a moment of racial discomfort to come to awareness. And if you can feel it in your body, you could put one or both of your hands in the area where you feel the discomfort. Breathing in and out. And inwardly recite these phrases. This is a moment of racial discomfort. Such moments are common in a world shaped by racism. I deserve kindness in this moment. And I offer kindness to others impacted by this moment as well. Now, bring kindness to an often underappreciated part of your body and take a look at your hands. The palms and the outer skin. Notice any reactions you have to the color of your skin. Then think of all the ways you have put your hands to work, the way they have supported others, enabled you to feel connected to others along the way. As you breathe in and out, appreciate this part of your body as an immeasurable gift. Offer it love and appreciation. And extend the sense of appreciation from your hands to your arms, chest, heart, neck, head, and down through your midsection to feel the ground. Breathe in and out with a sense of appreciation, of love for the gift of the body, the earth that walks, the physical manifestation of your unique journey through time and space and cultures unfolding to get you to this very place. Able to breathe and stay with sensations of discomfort in the body, and to feel and offer deep love and appreciation. For this particular body and place that includes all bodies and all places. And one more. This is James Baldwin. The great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us, are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways, and history is literally present in all that we do. It could scarcely be otherwise, since it is to history that we owe our frames of reference, our identities, our aspirations. And it is with great pain and terror that one begins to realize this. In great pain and terror, one begins to assess the history which has placed one where one is and formed one's point of view. So I'm curious about anything that arose through any of this, but how do we pendulate the love and wonder and gratitude and appreciation and whatever arose in being with this particular hand and this particular body, and discomfort of history and views as it sits in our body? How do you, and did you have any experience of, in the discomfort, what happened when you also brought love and appreciation to something very particular right here, right now, that is this very body, that is all bodies? Make sense? How do you hold it all? What do we do with all this? How do we practice with it?